Warning. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect that of the HHN TV or its constituent entities. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody. I'm Drew Duncan. The show's fired up, and we are live. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. Take your device and play Fired Up by Drew Duncan, iTunes, iHeart. Wherever you're listening, I am there. Plenty to get to today. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Stefon Diggs. To a lot of people, he's talking sideways out of his neck. We're going to be getting into that. We're going to be talking about Trent Williams, his new contract. We're going to be talking about Lamar Jackson, what he had to say. Charles Barkley, Team USA, him and Perk going back and forth. We're going to be talking about Josh Jacobs, what he had to say about why he went to Green Bay. Top 25 polls for college football. The new rankings are out. And Cam Hayward re-signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Plenty to get to today. All right, so first thing is first, obviously Stefon Diggs. My man, the quote machine, giving everybody something to talk about. I mean, what else would be going on right now? It's Wednesday, football doesn't start till tomorrow. I mean, you want to talk about perfect timing. But I know the main one everybody's going to be talking about, because there was a bunch of them. But obviously it's going to be none of these teams wanted to get rid of me. Things had to shake because I kind of wanted them to shake. Of course, later on, he went on to say, I am where I'm supposed to be in that moment. Whatever, man. The bottom line here is I can understand why Stefon Diggs would be upset. Bills fans bashing him, blaming him for the playoffs, not making Josh Allen take any kind of accountability whatsoever. Despite the fact that he's had numerous turnovers in the playoffs. I mean, hell, a game that they won against the Dolphins a couple of years ago. Brody had, 3 turnovers in that football game? In fact, he fumbled the football 3 times. Now, he only lost 1, but he fumbled it 3 different times. Well, he only lost the 1, so what does that matter? Well, I'll tell you what it matters. Because now you got your team playing behind the chains. That's why. You're in bad situations. You're not converting on third down. Whatever the case may be, there's a million and one reasons why just because you fumble it and don't lose it doesn't mean that you're not a detriment to your football team. Look, I got news for everybody. Stefon Diggs has not caught for under 1,000 yards since 2017. 5 consecutive seasons now, or pardon me, 6. 1,000 yards or better, period. Now, it's all there is to it. And, for my money, if I'm Stefon Diggs and I can figure out a way to go somewhere else and play football right now, I'm getting away from Josh Allen too. It's not even about hero ball or any of that other stuff. Josh Allen will blatantly, and I mean blatantly, throw in a triple coverage. We've seen it how many times. He'll have 15 yards in front of him. Everybody says that he's this great runner, which I'm not saying he's not. He's an incredible athlete. But you got 15 yards in front of you, and you're just like, fuck it, man. I'm going to chuck it. Here goes nothing. And people think that that's how you're supposed to win football games. Don't forget, at the end of that game, Stefon Diggs, okay, also missed throw. That was a team loss that happened in the playoffs. Okay? This past season was a team loss, whether anybody likes it or not. And I got more reality for you Buffalo Bills fans out there. You are going to find out who Josh Allen really is without Stefon Diggs. I am so sick of people pretending that Josh Allen has not had a football team around him. All-pro offensive linemen. All-pro wide receivers, all-pro defensive players. Stop it. A defense that since 2020 has consistently ranked in the top 5 best in terms of points given up per game. Stop the cap already. Do not pretend that the defense has not been keeping them in football games. Do not pretend that Stephon Diggs is a nobody at wide receiver just because he's not there anymore. I'm with him. I get where he's coming from. I mean, he literally said, what, you think I forgot how to play fucking football? And if I'm Stephon Diggs and I can go and play with C.J. Stroud and what they got going on in Houston, a football coach that gets it, a football coach that doesn't let GM and management do what they did to Deshaun Watson. We're not going to be trading away our best guys. Instead, we are going to add to our defense. We are going to add to our weapons on offense. We are going to draft correctly. To the point where it was so bad in Houston, folks. Don't forget that J.J. Watt said, to hell with this, I'm out. Couldn't you blame him? I think about the season that C.J. Stroud had last year. Look, with what they got going on in Houston, there's no room for, hey man, sophomore slump. They are expecting him to continue to win, to be better than a season ago. You know, the main thing about the way he plays football, and this is what I keep telling people, it's the energy that he brings, man. He sat right next to Micah Parsons. And Micah Parsons said he ain't played against no dogs. He said, man, you sitting next to one. Said it right to him. No hesitation. Micah Parsons is laughing it off. You see the look on his face? He ain't playing, Broham. Bro, I'm right here. What you talking about? In other words, they had to play against me. Now, I like that ish. But that's just me, though. For my money, right now, the Houston Texans, with all of the offseason moves that they made, I'm not saying that it's going to work out, right? Because it's all a matter of a million and one things that I've talked about repeatedly on this show. Schematics, locker room, all this stuff plays into it. I'm not going to get into it. I've talked about it a million times. The bottom line here is, on paper, the Texans look like a 12-win football team. They look like they can contend with the Kansas City Chiefs. Because that's the big dog in the room, right? The real vicious dog in the room, the pit bull. You know, right now, everybody else is maybe a bulldog, but old boy's a pit bull. So that's what they got going on in Kansas City, and everybody knows that everything that everybody is doing around the league, it's not just in the AFC, it's not just in the AFC West, it's around the league. How do we compete with the Kansas City Chiefs? They are the best. If we have to see them in the Super Bowl, we're on the other side of this thing. We're in the NFC. If we have to compete with them in the Super Bowl, what do we do to get better? To see them. And then once we're there, beat them. I don't have a problem with what Stephon said at all, man. I don't have a problem with what CJ's out here saying. None of it. Now, and anybody who's ever listened to my show knows this, I've never been geeked up on somebody after one season, because I've always said that it takes 4 years to truly learn how to be a quarterback in this league. But right now, if I'm Stephon Diggs, who do I want throwing me the football? A veteran whose habits don't look like they are ever going to change, or a young pro that's still developing and is willing to grow? I'm going to Houston. That's all there is to it. All right. So Lamar, well, let's go with that a little bit later on. Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley said he's not going to listen to Pert because he averaged 5 points per game. When you could, Charles looked a little sauce to me when he said that too. he looked a little like he had a little juice box. Look, man, I'm not going to discredit Perk's position on basketball. I didn't like what he had to say about Yoke, but I think it was just because I think he felt offended that people were saying that Westbrook was padding stats, and a lot of people agreed with it. And so I think he was willing to put it out there for Yoke. So I could appreciate what he did, but it just wasn't the same thing. Yoke got a championship that year. Russ ain't do nothing. Look, the bottom line here is the conversation was about how good this Team USA team is, right? That just played. And Charles Barkley was adamant that they should have played Tatum. He was adamant that they didn't do enough to win basketball games because they were constantly playing from behind. He was adamant that the team that he played on would have never trailed. And, I can't be mad at him because you got Ant running around going, oh, the only person who had skill was Michael Jordan. Well, come on. You ever heard of Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Clyde Drexler? Let's not forget that there are guys out there that have plenty of skill that were on that team. And even then, during Jordan's era, that have plenty of skill. They don't have rings. They don't have rings because 23 existed. I mean, that's just a reality. Patrick Ewing does not have a ring because 23 existed. For the most part. I mean, obviously, they end up going to the finals and, Keem Olajuwon won. Never got back, though, because they had to see 23 in the playoffs. Clyde Drexler, he ain't got a ring because 23. Charles Barkley, he don't have a ring because of 23. I mean, let's just keep it a buck. Say that Magic Johnson didn't have skill when you got guys like Jokic and a host of others going, I mimicked my game after him. Some of these guys are listening to Colin Cowherd or something, man, because they sound just like him. And I get it. He comes across as somebody who's very astute. And that's cool, bro. But Colin doesn't know what he wants to say or what his position ever really is. And that includes Magic Johnson. That includes Michael Jordan. That includes LeBron James. Look, Mike Tomlin. Look, here's the bottom line to me. That Team USA team was loaded. And me and the homie P were talking about it. Serbia didn't have anybody else other than Yoke. And Charles Barkley said, other than Yoke, who was their second best player? Tell me who their second best player was. Nobody could. Because Yoke carried that Serbia basketball team. They would have beat Team USA with another guy. Yoke damn near beat nothing but all-stars all by himself. And if anybody watched basketball, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Look, the reality is this. I would still take that 92 Dream Team over any team that's existed since. Nobody can mess. Look, I don't want to hear about the skills and the difference and all that stuff. This team would have mixed and matched the bench. They would have mixed up the starters. They would have played positions differently. They would have backed everybody off in the defense and said, go ahead and chuck up your threes. We're not worried about it. They would have immediately ran the floor directly afterwards. Let's not forget that in his day, Barkley could run and gun. People only look at the tail end of his career. They forget there was a time when him, Shaq, everybody, man, those are big men moving. And they were sliding across the floor and all kinds of crazy stuff, man. I really think that Team USA team in 92 would have beat this team. And it took Steph Curry coming off the bench and basically performing miracles for that team to win. That didn't have to happen with that 92 squad. Guys were coming off of the bench just to get some playing time. That was it. They didn't need it. They took it seriously. They weren't lollygagging. They weren't just trying to show off what they could do. They were putting on a show and a clinic at the same time. They were showing we are the best in the world, and nobody is going to f with us, period. That mentality doesn't exist with this squad. They're just out there having fun, which there's nothing wrong with it. But if you go back and you watch that Team USA squad on the, when the games were over and on the side, yeah, they were having a good time. But during the game, 100% business. In fact, they were beating teams so bad that I remember very vividly wanting to watch the game because, the Olympics were coming on in the middle of the night. 2 a.m. our time was when basketball was happening over there. And it was, look, I know everybody wants to watch basketball, but, they pretty much got this thing handled. We're going to switch over to this now. Think about that. So Josh Jacobs talked about why he joined the Green Bay Packers, and he said, look, I could have gone to the Chiefs. I thought about it, but I don't want to be on the team that's already established. I want to be on the team that takes down the established folks. Paraphrasing, but that's what he said. Look, I ain't mad at him. I ain't mad at him at all. Look, Josh Jacobs has a hell of a backstory. For those who don't know, there was a time when him and his family were sleeping in their car. Now, that man took a big-time payday at Green Bay, and I can't fault him. And if he would have gone to the Kansas City Chiefs, it would have been guaranteed, damn near written in stone. Just pencil that in, Super Bowl Chiefs. Bare minimum, they're getting there, right? Like, it. Like, come on. 15 with Jacobs, it's a wrap. He's like, nah, I don't want to do that. I want to go over here to this Green Bay team. These fighters. Now, Green Bay's kind of like that Detroit Lions squad, right? In that they had a horrible start to the season last year. They come back. Everybody knows what happens in the second half of the season. Really, they probably look back and thought to themselves, we should have beat Green Bay in the first go in the playoffs. I mean, they ran all over Dallas. Look, Jacob's story is amazing. And I think that's why he has the FU mentality that he has. I mean, what has he ever really had to lose? The man literally knows what it's like to sleep in his car and not know when the next meal is coming. He literally knows what it's like to be compact in a vehicle. He literally knows what it's like to wake up in the morning and not know what's next. All I do know is I got this dream of getting to the NFL. I got this dream of getting my family out of this. I got this dream of making all this happen. That's it. That's all he knew. And you never heard him once complain about it. He never went to the media about it. He never asked anybody for money. He never started a GoFundMe. None of that. He just, whatever, man, I'm going to work this out. That's why he's the way that he is. It ain't about being on the best. It's about being the best. I'm not going somewhere where they've already got an established presence. I'm going to go somewhere where we are going to make a presence. You're going to feel me. Look, man, I'm with it. And I think that Josh Jacobs, if Green Bay uses him correctly, which it seems like, I mean, whatever coach they have back there, they have a history of knowing exactly what to do with running backs, but running backs never really get the love that they deserve. I mean, Ahman Green had a hell of a career, but nobody ever talks about him. Aaron Jones was a hell of a running back, but nobody ever talked about him. I think you're going to be talking about Jacobs. I really do. Now, I'm not saying in terms of running backs in the NFL that he's up there yet. Okay? But then again, he was on the Raiders, so we'll see what happens. But I don't know if he's up there yet. I mean, you start going around the top 7 or 8 backs in the league. Obviously, number one's going to be C-Mac. I mean, that's just a point-blank situation. Then to me after that, you've got Nick Chubb. Then to me after that, you've got Breece Hall. Then to me after that, you probably still have Derrick Henry. All right, so now it gets tricky after that. And here's the thing. We all know that the running back position is not what it used to be in the NFL, right? But, you know, I think you got to go with old boy in New Orleans after that. And even then, a lot of Saints fans will probably say, bro, come on. He was like right after C-Mac. Are you kidding me? I'm just saying. Okay, and then you go after that. Look, I think maybe Jacobs will be right there. But it's all going to be about how he gets used, I think. And you pay that man that kind of money, he's going to have a bigger part. And, you know, let's keep it a buck. You've got to take some pressure off of Love. Because now, here's the thing, right? He went from kind of, you know, having that thing about, you know, after, you know, Brett Favre and then Rodgers and, okay, now the next one's supposed to step up, right? This is the guy that pissed off Aaron Rodgers, right? Now, it's kind of like that expectation wasn't nearly as high, right? Everybody was ready for Aaron Rodgers. Everybody knew that he was going to be the next big thing. With Love, I think people were just kind of like, whatever, bro. Especially with the way the season started. Now, with the way that it ended, he's got a real expectation. Okay, bro, we've seen what you could do. Now we expect you to win real football games here. We expect 11 wins this season. We expect 12 wins this season. We want to get a home field, at least one game in the playoffs. And look, the position, the power has changed. You know, for years and years and years, it was NFC. For a while, it got balanced again. Denver really brought that back. And then it got balanced, but then I think the power shifted again outside of the New England Patriots, obviously. Now, you look at it and you go, who's in the NFC that you think is a real, true Super Bowl contender? Okay? Dallas makes a smart decision. They signed CeeDee Lamb. All right, but Dak Prescott's still your quarterback, so I'm going to say no to that. The Giants, they don't have Saquon Barkley anymore. That was your one ticket. You ain't got him. I'm going to say no to that. The Philadelphia Eagles, I think a lot of people are 50-50 on them. Started out the season really good, but then, you know, the way that it ended, I don't think the expectation is high. I think they probably won 11 games, but are they Super Bowl contenders? Jalen Hurts, is he regressing? I'm going to say no to that. The Saints, the Falcons, nah. The Bucks, probably not. They were another team that had to go on a second run. Detroit, I don't think that they go back-to-back years. I mean, their own head football coach said, we may not get this opportunity ever again. He tried to backtrack later on, but he knows something. So the point of what I'm saying is the expectation is there. Caleb Williams, he's a rookie. I don't think so, Tim. And I haven't seen it from him anyways. The NFL season is going to be a rude awakening for him. Look, bottom line here is Jacobs is a guy that I would want on my football team. And Green Bay Packer fan, if you've got the pressure off of Jordan Love with any running back in the NFL, he's no exception. You give him the football 20 to 25 times a game, you're going to be damn good. New top 25 polls are out. So is Florida State, by the way. Which I saw coming. I mean, hell, let's keep it a buck. Florida State would not have been there if the polls came out after that game. They didn't belong there in the first place. I told everybody that I hate preseason polls for this reason. What would your top 25 be? I wouldn't have one right now because I wouldn't put out one until week 8. When we've seen these teams play more than one game. I mean, come on, man. We've got Texas and Michigan coming up this weekend alone. Everybody's seen the October 12th thing going around, right? And I think, obviously that's probably going to be the marquee game. But, and I'm still kind of undecided on how I feel that thing is going to go down. But again, this is why I don't buy into it. I mean, come on. Penn State this weekend, they're going to play Bowling Green. Kansas State is going to play Tulane. And you got Georgia Tech and Syracuse. I'm a huge 'Cuse fan, but defensively, I don't know if we're going to be able to stop that run game. I'm just keeping it a buck. Georgia, after they played Clemson, obviously big game. They got Tennessee, Martin or whatever the hell it is. So I'm not worried about that. Notre Dame with Northern Illinois. Utah and Baylor, Iowa State, Iowa. All right. Louisville's got Jack State. Come on, man. Ole Miss has got Middle Tennessee State. Miami's got Florida A&M. Bama's got South Florida. You picking up what I'm putting down here? Mizzou has Buffalo after their huge win over Murray State from a season ago. Ohio State's got Western Michigan. Whoop-de-doo. Now, Tennessee does have North Carolina State, so that could be a game. So does everybody see what I'm talking about here now? Does everybody get the picture? Has anybody seen yet why I can't stand preseason top 25 polls? You SEC fans, you all think it's just because I'm hating on the SEC. Again, to put a button on this, the debate that I am having is what created their sustainability. Without the push from ESPN and the amount of money that they were spending on the SEC network, they would have not got the incredible push that they did in order to create sustainability. Again, they won 10, 11 championships inside of a 29, 30-year time frame, 38-year time frame. 38-year time frame, 10, 11 championships. And a bunch of them were split. I don't want to hear it. And then all of a sudden in 16 years, they win 10 titles. Give me a break. I'm not here to debate you on whether or not the SEC is the best. It's clear that they're the best. But why are they the best? There is an answer to that question. I'm sorry that you don't get it. The reason why I hate preseason top 25 polls, and SEC fan, you're going to hate this. Does anybody remember that 2017, 2018 season? Seven teams from the SEC were in the preseason top 25. By week 4, there were 3 left. Okay? But it's not about the SEC. It is about the fact that I hate preseason polls for that very reason. And if anybody doesn't understand that, then all you have to do is go look at Florida State. And instead of wondering, is Boston College that good? Instead of wondering, is Georgia Tech that good? Because they're ranked 23 now. What we are doing is talking about Mike Norvell getting fired, Florida State being overrated, they shouldn't have been in the college football playoff last year, blah, 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 blah. We're completely ruining what the real conversation should be. The real conversation should be, Damn, that running game from Georgia Tech looked good. But then again, so did Boston College. So maybe Florida State just doesn't have a run defense. But it's too early to tell with anybody right now. You got Georgia Tech after that one win over Florida State, and now they're ranked 23rd in the country. Why? Because the next game was what, Georgia State? Isn't that who they played after Florida State? Let's just stop it already. I just want to see how things turn out. That is all I'm saying. For the record, the official top 25 polls are as follows. Number 1, obviously Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, Bama, Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Oregon, Penn State, Mizzou, Michigan, Utah. I guess because of Cam Rising. It's about the only thing that I could think of. Miami, SC, Tennessee, USC moved up 10 spots because of that win. OU, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, LSU. Can't believe whatever. It is what it is. KU, Zona, Iowa, Louisville, Georgia Tech, North Carolina State, and Clemson, surprisingly, after they got steamrolled by Georgia. Did they look like a top 25 football team to you? Did they? Or did they look like a clueless football team that didn't even know where to line up at? I understand it's week 1, and you're going to make week 1 mistakes. And to be honest with you, I don't have a problem with any team in week 1 playing an FCS school or some division, whatever it is. I don't have a problem with it coming out of week 1. You got to get those kinks out, and I get that. But Georgia in the first half looked very similar to that. They were having the exact same problems that Clemson was. But in the second half, they cleaned it up. Do you see what I'm saying? It took Georgia one half. And look, I know the conversation with Dabo Swinney is all about whether or not he's going to ever concede to the transfer portal, which I don't know if he's ever going to want to play ball or not. But the reality is, as much as that does have something to do with it, it also doesn't. The fact of the matter is, DJU has not been successful since he's left there. I mean, people are making a big deal out of this, including myself. Simultaneously, what has DJU done? Florida State's 0-2. He wasn't really anything spectacular at Oregon State. They didn't do much at Clemson. That was really probably his best shot. DJU's best shot, think about this, was probably staying at Clemson. Now, K. Klubnik, again, has got a lot of talent, but he looked clueless at times. That Clemson team is not a top 25 team at first look. But we, again, don't know how the season is going to progress. And we, again, don't know what any of these wins or losses mean for any of these teams. It's too damn early to tell for the most part. Sure, you could watch a game sometimes and look at a team and go, ooh, they're legit. And then other times you can look at a team and go, man, I don't see it this year, Broham. And that's okay. But it's just too early. Everybody keeps saying you're making predictions. I'm not making predictions on anything. I've literally not predicted how good the SEC is going to be. What I am saying is I'm tired of hearing about SEC football when the playing field is going to get leveled. Remember when they took the scholarships and they went from 100 to 75? And a few years down the road, we started seeing all these Boise States and all these other teams start to really come up, that was because the playing field got level because of that. Now, with the transfer portal, the same thing is about to happen. We are about to see the playing field level out again. That's just all there is to it. All right. Trent Williams, his new contract. Boy, given the last couple of contracts with linemen in the NFL, I'll bet Jason Kelsey is kicking himself a little bit for stepping out. Center in Kansas City, Humphrey, didn't he just get a serious payday? Now Trent Williams has got one. Look, which shout out, by the way. I'm sure everybody saw the interview about why that whole situation, partly why he came back, which respect my man. But look, obviously, you got to keep the run game intact, and you got to keep your quarterback safe. So, it makes sense. I don't understand you 49ers fans who are running around talking about how that line isn't really that good and they're overrated. I guess it's because you've got to do whatever you can to justify Brock Purdy. Okay. Everybody else knows, bro, that roster's loaded, but you guys, I'm sorry. Nobody in the NFL, nobody who's a fan of the NFL wakes up and goes, man, we got to play against Brock Purdy. Did you know that, man? Damn. Well, my team's going to lose. No, it doesn't happen. They wake up and they go, Brandon Ayuk, TK, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, the defense, the offensive line. That's what they do. They don't wake up and go, damn, man, Brock Purdy. You can't tell me a time where you thought to yourself, man, if we didn't have Brock Purdy, we wouldn't have won. I'm going to tell you that right now. Sorry, 49er fan. And this is the right move, by the way. Got an all-pro tackle, one of the best in the NFL. Pay the man money. Look, eventually, the money was going to start going to other places. Eventually, wide receivers are going to start getting paydays. Offensive linemen were going to start getting paydays. It was just a matter of time. Because you have to realize that when you have a number 15 or whoever, you've got to figure out a way to keep them safe. And you spend all this money on a quarterback, you don't shell out the dough to anybody else. Eventually, they're going to go somewhere where they could get some money in their pockets. Create a sustainable lifestyle for the rest of their days. And they earned it just as much as anybody else. Man, you're down there on that line. Anybody who's played line knows how dangerous that is, man. Anybody knows. It's not a game down there. So what I'm saying is, if anything, they deserve way more money than they get. Way more. They're always looked at as almost like they're second-class citizens. It's amazing to me. It's like, bro, do you not get that without them, that quarter? I mean, how many times have we talked about horrible offensive lines? We talk about it all the time with the Titans, the Bengals, the Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles, the New York Jets. We consistently bring up how horrendous. Then we get good offensive lines, and we're just like, but do we really want to pay these guys, though? I don't get it. It's almost talked about like it's something obscene. We're not talking about porn. We're talking about an offensive lineman, bro. All right. Speaking of line, not offense, but Cam Hayward to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, he resigns. He's probably just going to end up retiring there, and he should be. I don't think he's going to be a Hall of Famer or anything like that, but, he'll be a Steelers legend. I mean, the guy's been there his entire career. What's not to like about him? He's not exactly, putting up the best numbers in the world. But, stats are an overblown thing. They really are. Last year he only had 2 of them. The year before, though, he had 10.5, 10 before that. You could do a lot worse. There's better out there, but why not give the guy his due? He's made his home in Pittsburgh. He's made his entire career in Pittsburgh. He's given you everything he's got. Maybe one day you probably put him up there in the Ring of Fame. You got to do everything that you can right now to keep guys around that understand the culture that's been built by Mike Tomlin there, that's been built by people before him. Defense, the steel curtain. It's been a thing since the 70s. You got to do what you can. I, for one, I think it's just a nice story in the NFL, right? I mean, guys like me spend so much time complaining about every damn thing. You'd think that we're never happy our damn selves. All the that we get on the mic and talk, you know what I mean? And then real quick here, Lamar Jackson says he's got to be the leader. He's got to be the guy. Look, I'm tired of everybody bashing him. He said that he can't just be an MVP quarterback. Everybody keeps asking him about his trophies. I don't know why. Hey, man, you got all these trophies, man. Are you excited about? Like, bro, are you secretly jock riding? Is that what it is? You too afraid to ask the real questions? I don't know what the hell it is. We're kind of getting the same thing over and over again, but it's not the fault of Lamar Jackson. Look, I've been tired of Lamar Jackson haters, and I'm always going to be tired of Lamar Jackson haters, and I don't give a damn what anybody has to say about it. He's a damn good quarterback, and I tell you what, I'd take him in Denver. Matter of fact, I'd give anything to have a Lamar Jackson in Denver. Coaching has been an issue. Play calling has been an issue. I'm not saying Lamar Jackson has been without sin in the playoffs. I'm saying against maybe the best passing defense in all the NFL, and you've got the run game that you do, and you've got a run defense that's, 18th in the NFL in terms of stopping the run, and you're getting 6 yards a carry, maybe keep doing that. I don't know, bro. I know it sounds weird, but maybe keep doing that. Throw the football 82% of the time. Are you cooking? Then I'm supposed to be somebody who doesn't have a problem, or I'm supposed to be somebody out here hating on Lamar Jackson. Y'all are what Dave Chappelle was talking about. Hate, 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 hate. The haters ball. It's where a lot of you belong, man. That's whether you like it or not. All right, everybody, I am Drew Duncan. The show's fired up, and we are live. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. Take a device to play Fired Up by Drew Duncan, iTunes, iHeart. Wherever you're listening, I am there. You can also find me live on WBFR Radio from 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the morning, Monday through Friday. You can download the HHN TV app, available on all streaming devices. Phones, TVs, whatever. Guys, your local programming is next. Don't you dare touch that dial.